Welcome to this week's episode of Listen to Your Coaches. I'm your coach, Mike Wilkins, here with Coach Will Morrill. Today we're going to talk a lot about Stout PGH fight news, but we're also going to cover some One Championships fights that just happened just last night. Will, why don't you take us down that rabbit hole?
So Mike and I are recording this on Saturday morning, so the fights literally just happened, and there's two fights in particular we want to talk about. Number one, Luke the Chef Lessei against Eddie Abasolo, and then we're going to touch on the championship fight as well, Haggerty against Lobo. So let's start with Luke the Chef.
Let's do it.
So first of all, interesting matchup. We have Luke the Chef, who is, like top-ranked American, and then you have Eddie Abasolo, who is also a very highly ranked American fighter. And they're kind of like a generation apart. Like they've definitely been in the same, tournaments and such. But I believe Eddie is 37 or so,
and Luke's 27.
27, yeah. So kind of like different generation. So let's just dive into the fight, I guess. First round.
Well, we watched it separately.
Well, initially we watched it separately, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we watched it again because I basically saw a different fight the first time.
Yeah.
The first round, the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, Eddie won that round for sure.
Yeah.
And then we're watching it together just, 20 minutes ago or whatever.
And I feel like when we watch it, like when you're showing it to me, you're like, just like seeing what I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I thought Luke won that first round. I thought it was close.
Right.
But I was like, oh yeah, it was a close one. Luke won that one.
And it's funny, I do this too sometimes when like you and I are cornering fights. Like when I very much want someone to win a fight, which by the way, I like Eddie and Luke. But I've been watching a lot of Luke recently.
Yeah.
And like when I want someone to win, a lot of times I'll see when they do something that's like not up to like what I know their abilities to be, I'm like, oh, they're losing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when I first watched it last night, I was like, oh, he's just like spending a lot of time watching, and a lot of his combinations aren't landing as cleanly as Eddie's. And then when we watched it this morning, I was like, oh, it's way closer than I thought. I still would probably give a slight edge to Eddie. I wouldn't, be mad at anyone who,
So you're not mad at me?
I don't know. It was super close,
Right on.
But I think that Eddie probably had slightly more effective, strikes at times, and I think blocked a couple of things that, maybe looked like they got through. I'm not sure. Again, if someone gave that round to Luke, that's totally valid.
I gave the round to Luke. It just like, and you have a much more of a trained eye than I do. Just from my perspective, I just felt like, he was always like kind of like a step ahead. The things that he was throwing were landing with a little bit more intent, and I felt like there wasn't much other separation other than that.
And I think that's important too, because that's something that I think we see throughout the whole fight is a lot of what Luke lands just has a little more pop on it,
Yeah.
And Eddie, I think because of his style and how slick and smooth he is, sometimes he gets in weird positions that don't allow him to get maybe as much power and like sit down on his strikes. In the same way that, when you see like a Lomachenko fight and does this like crazy bounce around, and like in the middle of all that bouncing around, he's just like landing little arm punches, which is still like incredible, but it's not like the power punches you get from like sitting down on it.
Yeah.
I think we saw a lot of that in this fight too.
Right.
So
round two was very exciting round.
Well, hold on, just to wrap up round one. So super, super close. I would give the slight edge to Eddie. You gave a slight edge to...
Yeah, I got slight edge Luke.
Cool. So, and again...
So under my scoring system for fighting, the score's tied 1-1 then. Because one judge gave the round and one judge gave the round. So it would be 1-1 in my scoring system. And we'd throw that up on the scoreboard. Now there'd be a third judge, naturally.
Right.
But yeah, go ahead.
Dude, your scoring system's so good. So second round, I think like 30 seconds in, they're getting after it.
Yeah.
And Luke cracks him with a big, long right hand.
Yeah.
Drops Eddie. Like kind of, I don't want to say like super bad, but like not good. It's not like it was just like a little flash knockdown. Like he hurt him. And what like just jumped out to me when I first saw that is it reminded me of the way that like Fedor punches, where like it's not a straight punch right down the middle.
Oh,
it's
right.
Not a hook. It's like both.
Yeah.
And actually, you know who the first person was that like showed me in person how effective those were?
No, who?
Bill Algeo when we were boxing.
Okay.
He throws like similar kind of like straight looping punches.
Yeah.
And it's like really weird because you can't really react to them like it's a hook or like it's a straight, and they have more power almost than a straight because they get that little like whip and turnover at the end.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and that's what we saw Luke drop Eddie with. You know,
Yeah.
like, away from the outside, big long right hand. Eddie goes down, and then for the rest of the round,
Yeah, Luke carried the rest of the round
Yeah.
up until about the 30-second mark.
yeah, and then Eddie caught Luke with was it an elbow?
You know what? That's your job to remember that.
Yeah,
Not
now I
mine.
can't remember. It was either an elbow
Well, he dropped him.
or a short punch.
He put him down.
And it was weird because Luke looked fine initially, took one step back, and then
Yeah.
goes down. Looks like his legs started to give out. He gets back up. He looked a little bit rattled, but he recovered well. And for the last 30 seconds, he held on. So what's interesting about this, and I don't even know how the scoring works.
Right, because like typically a drop is like, oh, that's a 10-8. You know? But when they both get a drop, I think it's just a clean wash.
Right, it brings it back.
I think it brings it back to now like not a 10-8, right? So
Right.
now I think it's back to the 10-9 must system. So you kind of take the rest of the round into consideration, taking the drops away, and in that case, then I'm giving round 2 to Luke handily.
Yeah,
you know?
I think, and I don't even think it's close.
If you eliminate both drops.
Yeah, I think that he like was completely dominating for 2.5 minutes of that fight, or that round rather.
Yeah.
And other than getting dropped, it was just like very clearly for him. And
Right.
again, if both of those cancel out, then clearly for him.
Yeah.
So I think we're in agreement there that round 2, Luke.
So now the score is 3-1.
On the official scorecards.
Yeah.
So now going into this last round, it's potentially Luke is up 2, potentially it's tied up.
Yes.
So things are very exciting. Third round, I mean, Luke's doing what he does, from the outside. He's landing his teeps, he's landing his long strikes. And also another thing that I didn't mention throughout the whole fight that I think was really, interesting about Luke is, dude, his checks are really high level.
Yeah.
And you saw that too when he fought Joe Nottawat. But he checks the smallest amount, and it's so perfect. He uses that perfect upper part of the shin. He doesn't waste any energy with it. Gets a good angle on it, and it just looks so effortless.
Right.
Which I think is one of the reasons I like.
Well, I think it is effortless.
Oh yeah, I mean that's trained into that dude since he was a little kid.
Right.
He just boom.
And when I think about if I take that to my own sparring or fighting, it's so difficult for me. It's a lot of brain power in the middle of the fight to pull that off for me, so leg kicks get landed on me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then you think about maybe some things that you are good at that is effortless, when maybe in wrestling when someone's reaching for a collar tie and I slip it, it's my body just does it, right? I never took a thought about it. Sometimes it happens and I'm like, oh wow, that happened.
It's weird because you can identify with that kind of feeling of flow.
Yeah, that flow feeling.
Dude, oh man, we should talk about this at some point. On Thursday when you were teaching that leg lock class.
Yeah.
Which by the way, you blew my mind. Jarrett and I were talking about it. When you were showing just closing the knee to foot and transitioning from that knee bar position basically into a knee cut.
Oh yeah.
It just blew my mind. I was like, yo.
I'm glad it blew your mind because when I learned it, I was like, excuse me, these are connected?
Yeah.
They seem so far apart.
Yeah, exactly.
So but it's my mind has been blown on that so long ago that now it's normal to me.
I was wait a minute, you just turn and dig an underhook and then you just have a knee cut pass? Yeah. But when I was watching you, you're teaching that class and you're going slow and you're showing it and then you start speeding up and you're yeah, boom, 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 boom. And just the transition and the smoothness in that transition, I was like, wow. I've obviously known that you're really good at jiu-jitsu for a long time, but then I see stuff like that and I'm like, wow, you're really good at all these different parts of it and the things that stretch my brain on it. I know about this.
Yeah, right.
But my body can't do it yet.
That's where I am with this, right? I know about it and I completely get why it's working and how it must feel to him, right? It's dude, he's he's oh, I didn't even know that you were kicking.
Right.
My leg, I didn't even see it. My leg saw it. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, dude, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that really stuck
independent,
out.
they're independent of you. You're like a Megazord.
He's like an octopus. You know what I mean?
Well, did you ever watch Power Rangers?
Yeah. The thing that comes together.
Yeah, they come together. So
Yeah.
like the one's the leg, the one's this leg, the
Right.
one's arm, and stuff. And it's like so like yeah, like an individual person is operating the left leg.
Yeah.
You know, so like you're up here fighting, and someone's operating your leg, so you don't even have to pay attention to that. It's just like, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh.
All right, okay.
So yeah, super smooth checks, right? Looked awesome, and I think like worked effectively. Obviously, some leg kicks got through, but like I think we saw less leg kicks in that fight than we would have if those checks weren't on point.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
do you think like it's worth like? I would love to get like to see if he agrees with us like on that like kind of like flow like independent like thing and stuff, and I would love to be able to like hear that from him, like if only there was a way that like we could ask him or we could like maybe learn like some of his style.
If only there was a way.
Yeah,
Maybe
April 13th at Stout PGH.
That sounds like a wonderful idea.
Let's go.
So I think he's gonna say exactly what like kind of you feel about like those like leg lock to pass transitions, where like you don't even have to think about it. I bet he says the same thing about that. He's like, yeah, of course I don't need to think about it. It just happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure too. I just wanted to plug the seminar.
That's fair enough. April 13th, 1 o'clock, Stout PGH, come through, Luke the Chef seminar. But anyway, so we're in the third round, right? And it's a close fight up to here, and I think Luke is basically just winning the whole thing in my mind. And what really stands out to me is, again, like when you see like Luke highlights, you see a lot of him being slick on the outside, landing teeps, hitting switch feints, long punches, all at range. Not that he doesn't have a great clinch game and everything, but like that's what I think of when I think of like his highlights, is that outside trickery. In this fight, he showed a lot of like really dangerous elbows and like short uppercuts and hooks. And I remember one of the announcers being like, "Oh, Eddie's really got to get on the inside," and me being like, "I don't know, dude. He's getting beat up there. Like he's getting cracked with elbows, getting cracked with uppercuts,
dude."
So that I thought was super impressive. If you're a long fighter, I think he's like 6'2", fights at 55. Like,
man,
dude, if you have a nasty inside game, like, what do you do against a guy like that? You know? And he's tough.
So you gave him the third round, or you
I gave
give
him
it
the
to Eddie
third round.
Abasola?
I gave Luke the third round.
I had Luke 3-0 in this fight. Granted, the first round was close, but yeah, I had it 3-0 in the fight, and it ended up being a split decision,
which in my mind is crazy because I'm either way on the first round. I'll give it to Eddie.
But the second and third round, I thought were fairly clear. One of the things that I threw out there, and I was like, maybe since Luke, when he dropped Eddie, it was early in the round, maybe the one judge who gave the second round to Eddie, assuming that he gave him the second round, forgot about that drop. So then when Eddie got the drop, he was like, well, now I have to give the round to him, right? Like,
yeah.
But that I don't think that tracks on a 10-point must system either.
Yeah, because if that was the case, then
it would have been a draw or a 29-27.
Right. Which, man, like that, when you say that score out loud, like that's not what that fight
was.
You know what I mean?
Like, so the way we scored the fight, and under my scoring system, was 5-1.
Yes.
That would be the score of that fight.
Which in my mind is like kind of like that shows how, I guess maybe not shows how close it was, but it shows pretty accurately
then you throw a third judge in. What if the third judge agrees with you, right?
Right.
1-2-2, right? Now you're talking 7-2.
Yeah, I think that
5-1, 7-2.
fairly accurately.
Yeah, I think it accurately.
And also, even if we just get 29-28, I think that's like, that shows pretty well what was going on. It's close, but Luke clearly won.
Dude, I don't think
I agree with you. I think your scoring system
I don't think
better.
29-28. Like, okay, like if you're telling me it's like, yo, yeah, dude, hey, they played this sport and this dude won 30-27. That sounds close to me.
Right.
That sounds close to me. If you're like, yeah, man, the Steelers beat the Browns 30-27. That was a close game. Like that's what it sounds like to me. So then you're telling me someone won a fight 30-27. I'm like, that sounds like a close fight. That is a shutout. You know what sounds better than that? 9-0. Yeah, he beat him 9-0.
I'm I'm with you. I like your scoring system better. What I'm trying to get at is a split decision in my mind is kind of crazy.
Well, you can't. The only thing you can say, okay, yeah, it can be kind of crazy because
How
you
did
just
one
don't
judge?
agree that any judge could have scored a round against the second or third round against Luke.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So that's why.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, you're
Because
I
one
get
of
what
the
you're
things
saying.
I hate when someone's like that, oh, that fight was close. It should have been a split decision.
Oh, dude, we've talked about this a bunch.
Yeah,
Huge
that's
pet peeve.
it's literally like that's dumb. So you're saying, oh man, these people should disagree on this. I can't believe that you chose three people in this room to watch this fight and they agreed that on every round,
Right.
right? They agreed that Will won the first round and Mike won the second and Will won the third. They agreed. One of them should have disagreed on one of those rounds. You know,
Yeah,
like I
that's
hate that.
so annoying. They're like, "Oh, it was so close; it should have been split." I'm like, "What? What? No." But regardless, this fight I don't believe should have been split because, in my mind, very clearly for Luke, even if you gave Eddie the first round.
Yeah.
But regardless, I thought it was a fantastic fight, very entertaining. It showed, I think like the quality of American Muay Thai to a Thai audience in Lumpini, which is really cool.
And I think moving into the main event fight that we're going to talk about is really going to push an issue on my opinion on entertainment Muay Thai
Oh,
versus stadium Muay Thai.
excellent. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a great fight. What did you think about it?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the fight. I thought it was a great fight. Yeah, just a great fight overall. This next fight I thought was also a tremendous fight.
Excellent fight. So the next fight we're going to talk about is Haggerty against Lobo, and this was for Haggerty's
Muay Thai bantamweight
championship.
title, which not to be confused with his kickboxing bantamweight title in the same organization.
Same weight class as well.
Yeah.
So first round, Haggerty's coming out. He looks awesome, right? He's landing all the stuff that Haggerty does, his teeps, big punches, and then what would you say, like last 45 seconds or so, when Lobo
When he sat him on the ropes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was like
45,
somewhere around
30
there.
second. Yeah, mark, yeah.
And Lobo cracks him badly.
I was shook because like I was in like MMA mindset. So when the ref like jumped in between them to give him like his count, I thought that was the fight. I was like, what? I was like, oh my god. I was like, wow, he just TKO'd him, and then I was like, oh, it's not MMA. Like you get a count.
Yeah. or would you say Chael's rules?
Oh yeah, Chael's rules. I was like, maybe this is Chael's rules, because as I was watching the fight, I had already known the result,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I like saw like an Instagram highlight,
Uh-huh.
know, so it was like contrary to the result that I had
Yeah.
seen. So I was like, are these Chael's rules, where like if you get finished, you just lose that round?
Right. So, also, so in my mind, that's a 10-8 for Lobo because he dropped Haggerty. And also, what I think was interesting there is, based on Haggerty's body language, I thought he was broken. I was like, dude, I'm not sure he's gonna come back from this. Like, he looks not awesome. He hung on, obviously, but like, I don't know if he's got it. Second round, oh, he's still got it. They were going back and forth. It almost looked like a kickboxing fight. They were like taking turns. You know what I mean?
Right. I disagree, dude. I disagree. So I made a point, and like I didn't go watch the second round back, but I was kind of watching the second round, and with about like halfway through the second round, I noted like something, I just noticed something, and I was like, I don't recall this happening yet this round, and so then I paid attention to it for the rest of the round. Dude, they threw no lower body strikes in the second round. They might have in like the first minute or like the first 30 seconds early on.
I'm not sure they did it. Oh, when I was saying kickboxing, I meant like stylistically and like turn for turn. The way like, you see like Dutch kickboxing, not like they were like hucking kicks.
Okay, yeah. But like, dude, they just like boxed with elbows, and I am in.
Yeah, dude, it was
I am
awesome.
in. I loved it, dude. And I was like, these dudes aren't throwing any knees or kicks. I was like, this is a Muay Thai fight, and that's the entertainment Muay Thai versus stadium Muay Thai.
And so, okay, it's interesting you say that because there's, I think, twofold. One is in stadium Muay Thai, punches to the head just don't score that well, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of discussed this too. Like, even though that's the case, when Thai fighters like maybe know they're down on the scorecard and they need to get a knockout, or they know they need to like do like real damage.
Yeah.
They go back to throwing hands because like that's how you knock people out a lot. You know,
Yeah.
obviously you can with your legs. It's just like it's hard to land head kicks flush.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? So I think that's kind of what they were getting to, and especially when you added 4-ounce gloves. Now it's like, hey, all it takes is one, and then everything changes. So, dude, I agree. That was a super fun round.
Dude, it was
elbow
awesome.
boxing, doesn't get much better than that.
I'm in for elbow boxing. I am in. Not for me to do personally.
No.
To watch.
To watch, yeah, as a spectator. So that second round, I think it was, a little bit of back and forth, but I think pretty clearly Haggerty, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I think he dropped him that round too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I forgot for a second.
All right,
so, so now if we look at the scores, it's probably a 10-8 round for
And a
Haggerty
10-8 round.
and a 10-8 round for Lobo.
Right. So, like, if we did the real scoring system, it's 6-6.
Yes.
6-6. Because all three judges would score it 2-0 for Lobo in the first round, and then 2-0 for Haggerty in the second round. So we got a 6-6 going to 6-6 going into the third.
Dude, I love that you're staying on your scoring system. We're going to blow this up.
This is how I'm bringing it in. I'm just going to, every fight we talk about, I'm going to score in my system.
And just like present it as if like that's the real score.
That's it, dude. It's 6-6 going into the third. Go ahead. Pick me up.
All right, so third round, they're getting after it.
Dude, I honestly thought this was the second round.
No, they made it to third.
Okay. That's why I started smiling weird. I was like, what?
Dude, now you have me shook. Was it in the second round?
I don't know. I just watched the fight like 15 minutes ago.
Well, you and I both are just like running off of a ton of sleep.
Yeah, I got so much sleep.
We're super sharp. But anyways, at some point in the second or maybe the third round.
Whatever, dude. He knocks him out. Cut it. Cut it.
Big
We're done.
stiff cross.
Boom. Yeah, just boom. He spun in a circle, fell down. That was the end of the fight. I remember one of the cool things about that too is like Haggard. So the ref's like going over to Lobo. Mm-hmm. He's going over to Lobo, and like Lobo's like coming up off his stomach or whatever, and like the ref's like looking at him, and Haggerty stands behind the ref, like hands on knees, like peering around him, like looking, like assessing, and he's like trying to see, he's like, is he gonna get up and get a counter, or is this over? And he's got his hands on his knees, he's like bent down, he's like squinting, like peering in. And then the ref's like, boom, and he's like, bam!
Yeah,
like, I was like, yo, that's sick.
That was super sick. Also, before that happened, like right as like Lobo went down, he was like, oh, I just like screamed at him. It was like also like one of those like iconic like Ali standing up, like,
oh yeah,
dude, it was a very cool fight. Actually, this brings us to something interesting, kind of unrelated to the fight, but something that, so like I'm a big Pride fanboy, right?
Yeah.
Like I love Pride.
and I'm a big jiu-jitsu guy.
Really? It's shocking.
I just wanted to point to my shirt.
But and one of the things that I really liked about Pride was kind of like the the pageantry of it. It was like a big show. You know what I mean? Crazy walkouts, massive crowd. They had the like the pro wrestling style like
I liked that too.
rigs over the it's like it makes it a show, and this is something I'm conflicted on. So ONE FC I think kind of does they kind of lean into that side of things a little bit. And at the end of the main events, when it's in the ring, they drop down tons and tons of confetti, right?
Oh, yeah.
And every single time they're interviewing this dude who just won a championship, and he's just covered in like glitter and like big patches of it, like that.
Yeah, big thick ones.
It's just like
CFFC just did that.
Really?
For their last fight. Women's champion, 2-weight champion, like they dropped the confetti on her, and I was like, yo, CFFC's dropping confetti? That's sick.
Okay, so I'm conflicted on this because on the one hand, it looks so cool in the moment. You're like, whoa, this dude just won, and Haggerty's laying on the ground. He's got 2 belts. He's getting covered in this like gold foil, and then he stands up and gets interviewed. And he's got
it's like sticking
patches
all over
on his face, and he's like being tough and like
Yeah, so you got to give and take. The other thing, dude, like I am dying for there to be a malfunction and it's to drop in the middle of a fight. I am dying for that. Like, dude, I'm rooting for it so hard. I'm like, come on, malfunction. Dude, ONE Championship's better never hire me to push that button, dude. I will lose my job over dropping that in the middle of a fight. Oh my god! It's like boom, nah! They're fighting in like a
hilarious.
snow of confetti.
Dude.
Next thing you know, they make a whole sport out of it.
Confetti
One
fighting.
championships where we have confetti fighting.
Well, no,
confetti.
one wouldn't do that, but some Russian organization would. You would see that on Instagram like a day later.
Yeah.
It'd be like in a snowstorm of confetti. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh man,
We should do all of our podcasts off of like 3 hours of sleep.
dude, I bet you one sees this episode and hires me to be the confetti button pusher now, just for the risk.
Yeah, and they take your scoring system, so they're like, "Hey, we gotta let this dude have some sort of job," you know?
Dude, that'd be sick. I'm in, dude.
Equal
You let me
payoff.
press the confetti button, you can have it.
Oh
Right.
man! But overall, awesome fight. I thought
Awesome.
both of those fights were very entertaining, and yeah, man, I think that from what I understand, one is not doing well financially.
No.
But like, dude, if they keep running cards like this, which is on American time and
Yeah.
of that quality, like, I mean, I think they're on the way up.
Yeah.
I think they're technically already like the largest, martial arts organization in the world, but I think their financing is a little,
Interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah.
It's sad.
Oh, so this is just like a memory of me reading that from somewhere. So like, who knows? Maybe it's like, no, they're making tons of money.
They're like, no, bro, dude. We're crazy rich. We just don't want to pay taxes.
Ugh.
All right, cool. Well, that was a great one championships wrap up. Now on to Stout PGH Fight Week. Or is it Fight Month? Over the next 5 weekends, we have fights going every weekend. All right. So I just quickly want to run us through this upcoming week. We've got 5 fighters fighting on 2 different shows. We're starting off Friday, February 23rd with Farman Hassanov fighting in LFA, finally making his debut stateside, right? He's already 2-0 pro, but this is his first fight in the United States. It was a battle getting him a fight. We've been looking for a while. We finally got it notched out, and that'll be on LFA. I believe he'll be on the prelim. So usually LFA airs their prelims on like YouTube or Facebook or something where the
like
main
that.
card's on Fight Pass. We'll definitely be pumping that out. Make sure to tune in, check out his fight. He's kind of a little bit of a secret to a lot of like, maybe the local MMA community, but definitely not a secret to Stout PGH students.
Yeah.
As we see what he can do day in and day out. He did compete on Stout Fights Jiu-Jitsu, and he had a pretty impressive performance and popped the top, jacked up.
Let everyone know.
Yeah, let everyone
That's
know.
probably why it was so hard to get him a fight. Everyone saw that. I was like, ugh.
We did tell him to stop posting pictures with his shirt off, and that's why he's not getting these fights. The very next day, so we're doing that up at the Seneca Resort in Niagara Falls. The very next day, we're flying back down south. Well, driving. I mean, flying as in driving fast. We're heading to Murraysville, PA for the 247 Fighting Championships, where we have 4 of our fighters on the card, starting off with 3 amateurs. Tyler Fleming making his amateur debut.
Yep.
Joao Martinez taking his second walk to the cage for his 3rd fight overall. Max Jarrell taking his 2nd walk to the cage after an impressive amateur debut in October.
Yep.
So I'm really excited about those 3 guys. They've been in the gym working hard. They're going to put on a good show. And as far as we're concerned, the Stout PGH headliner on that card, Lucas Siebert, making his pro debut after a short and fast amateur career. I like to say it's like, like those basketball players who just go one and done in college, like they go hit their 1 year at like Texas, UCLA, Syracuse, wherever, and then they enter the draft. That was like Lucas, right? Came in amateurs, 5-0, pros.
So with Lucas, you should totally buy a ticket or the pay-per-view so you can like see the fight.
Oh yeah,
That's
you want to
sick.
see Lucas's fight and you want to support Lucas, so buy a ticket.
there any
Make
other
sure you're
reason they might
selecting
wanna-
Lucas, and just to put a cherry on top, you can then come down to Stout PGH on Thursday, March the 14th at 6:30 p.m. and take part in a wrestling for jiu-jitsu clinic ran by yours truly, along with 4-year D1 wrestler Lucas Siebert, who you are supporting, 4-time state champ and blue chip prospect Josh Ramirez,
And brown belt.
and high level brown belt.
Yep.
So these are people who know how to institute the wrestling for jiu-jitsu, very much so. And then Division II NCAA champion Luke Martin, right? So your only way to get into that clinic there, which people have been clamoring for, is to purchase a ticket, and or if you can't make the fights, purchase the pay-per-view, select Lucas Siebert as your fighter, and like, let's rack up this Stout PGH support. We know we got it. I've witnessed it firsthand throughout my entire career. Let's keep that community pushing. All of our fighters, what do they say? A rising tide lifts all ships. And let's keep flooding it.
Yep.
All right. Then we're moving on. I'm going to take the next weekend off, Will, if you don't mind, because we got busy times coming
I understand.
up. All right. But Will, Josh Polance, and Coach Vincent Meng will be heading out to Columbus, Ohio to coach the TBA's Tournament of Champions, a Muay Thai tournament. Just run us through some of our competitors on that.
All right, so far we have 9 people on this card. We've got Jake Perry.
Jake Perry.
We've got our boy John.
John.
We have...
Curly hair John.
We have Rachel.
Rachel. Stout PGH, Monroeville, Meng Dynasty.
We got Steve.
Steve. Also went to Woodland Hills.
We have Isaiah.
Isaiah. Pretty tall.
We've got... Very tall. We've got Zawad.
Zawad. Very smart. Gonna lose some brain cells. Has some extra to lose.
We have Mr. Lonnie Howard.
The People's Stoner?
The one
Mr. High Roller himself?
The one and only.
The most nimble of all?
Of all colossal weights ever.
A colossal weight.
Yes.
Colossal weight can throw his legs in all different ways?
I take it back. He's not the most nimble colossal weight. He's just the most nimble.
The most nimble.
Then we got Rico.
Rico?
Yep.
Rico, who brought some crackers, meats, and cheeses to his last fight, Rico?
That's the one.
The one?
And we got
Rico, the one who told me just on Thursday night that meatloaf is just a hamburger without bread? Rico?
That's the one. And then we've got Brody Harris.
Brody Harris. Tell us, just give me a little small.
Mr. Undefeated himself.
Undefeated champ.
Champ. He's going to go in there and...
look handsome.
Look handsome, smash some dudes in the ring, and come out with a belt.
Let's go, Brody. All right, yeah, so that's 9 athletes.
9 athletes, and so that's guaranteed 9 fights. But
Guaranteed 9 fights, but it's tournament format, so we're hoping to see some more fights in there. You win, you progress. With the exception of Brody's case at the moment, only one other person in his bracket, so it's looking like a one-and-done deal. But maybe they combine weights. Maybe more people will register last minute.
Someone misses weight,
Who knows? All right. So that is March 1st and 2nd in Columbus, Ohio. We're going to run it back to March 9th in Kentucky. I don't know where in Kentucky, but it's in Kentucky, in which we have another kickboxing fight. Will Moriarty running his 2nd fight of the year, coming off of a first round submission to strikes victory, January 27th in MMA. He's going to jump into the cage for a kickboxing fight. And that night, we also have our D2 NCAA champ, Luke Martin, making his 2nd walk to the cage. And the hound dog Hoagie himself, a bantamweight champion in another organization, also stepping into the cage that night as well. Let's go, Anth.
Very exciting.
Right. All right. Then we run it back. We come back, get a little closer to home. On Saturday, March the 16th, we're going to take a trip down to the country roads, Morgantown, West Virginia, where we got 3 of our Stout PGH athletes on the card. Starting us off, making his 6th walk to the cage, the ever-improving hot man himself, Tim, 80-degree hotel room Bailey. I hate you. But nevertheless, Tim just showing incredible improvements. Tim, I'm not going to say it on the podcast because I want to make sure you can get more fights.
Yes. Yes.
So, hey, guys, Tim's actually not that good.
Yeah.
He's kind of mid, as the kids would say. No cap. So take fights against Tim. On that same card, we got the return of Josh Northside Vasoki, El Guapo.
Yep.
Right? He's got that one-hitter quitter power
big left
and
hand.
that left hand. Right? I bet you there's some of that right hand too. Sprinkle some special salt over that right hand. And then in his 2nd professional fight, we've got Mason DeLess, right? Stepping back into the pro cage, trying to get some of that money. Morgantown, West Virginia, one of the hardest hitting 125ers that you could ever come across.
Awkward style, uses all of his tools, and like you said, big power.
Big power, big time dog. All right, then to cap off our fight month,
Yep.
we've got the captain herself, Brittany Bickhart, making her long-awaited pro debut after 2 contracts signed and 2 opponents popped out. We finally got one in Philadelphia, a little bit north of Philadelphia, PA, kind of close to the Poconos. Stout PGH, you want to see your captain, Brittany Bickhart, fight? You're going to have to get out there, because who knows if she's ever going to get the fight close to home. She's going big time, real fast, foot on the gas. Let's go.
This might be the closest that you get to
This
Pittsburgh.
could be it. So let's pack it up. Stay tuned for some special announcements about that, right? We might have some cool ways to get to the fights and some incentives on those. Big party time. Big party time. So yeah, let's go, Britt. Yeah, and then that's your 5-week stretch, Will. And I took 1 week off in there because the very next weekend I'm running myself down to Vegas. I'll be coaching the ADCC West Coast Trials for our jiu-jitsu athletes. We've got Claire, we've got Christian, we've got Alex Hudick in the West Coast Trials. And then in the Open, we have Issa, potentially Jess, and Andy Dwyer as well. Hope I'm not forgetting anybody on that, but we got a lot busy month coming up, right? So just one thing to touch on now that we kind of like ran through the down dirty on those fights, just a little bit of stat keeping. So we're talking about in the first quarter of this year having 12 MMA fights, whereas in 2022, which I consider like our freshman year, right? That's when me and Will, that's when I jumped back in to start coaching with Will, and we started putting time into the fight team part and being hey, let's build a good fight team. We went 19-4 that year, incredible year, right? But all those fights, just regular amateur fights, a lot of those were debuts. So I'm not saying it's easy to get wins, but it's definitely easier than when you're 4-0, 5-0, right? Then we ran into 2023. We upped our fights by over 30%, up to 30 fights that year. Out of those 30 fights, 8 of them were amateur title fights. So we're starting to fight the cream of the crop, and naturally that comes with some losses as we're stepping up in competition. So our win percentage went down a little bit to 70%. We were 21-9, and we also had our first pro fight in 2023, and that was our most recent pro fight since Jonas and I had retired from the last iteration of Stout PGH fight team. In Q1 this year, we've already got 12 fights signed, one's done. And out of those 12, 4 pro fights. So you really see the growth of the team going into sophomore year, so to speak. Really excited, and that growth keeps some good motivation. Guys, be excited about it. Let's keep pumping it up, and let's keep pushing the goals higher and higher. Let's not be afraid of reaching high. Let's put some people in the league.
Definitely.
Let's go. All right. Hey, that's a wrap for us here on Listen to Your Coaches. We'll catch you next time. Dude, these next couple weeks, you just heard us list all these weeks, right? So we're going to have recap show after recap show after recap show. There's a chance we've got our first show on the road potentially coming, So we might have to leave this beautiful studio for an episode, but, we're going to keep this ball rolling, keep this train moving, and let's rack up some dubs. All right, we'll see you guys next time.